everyone, welcome to Coach on Command. My name is Aaron Littleton, and I'm the head coach of the Gymnastics Sports Center Storm, two-time AGA champion, and your host for this hour of excitement and wonder. You will notice here that not only do we have a fantastic show for you today, but we also have the biggest panel, the largest panel in Coach on Command history, and that's not just because the walking supercontinent Braden Milbern is here. That is because we have got 5 coaches here for you to teach you all about gymnastics and parkour and coaching and all sorts of awesome stuff. So we're going to go down the panel. We're going to let them introduce themselves, and we'll get the show on the road.
The planet-sized man has returned once more. It is me, Coach Braden.
I'm Coach... Hi, my name is Coach Kieran, and I'm basically this gym's resident stick.
I'm Coach Tracy, and I must be the most normal one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree.
You know what they say, normal are the people that you don't know.
Normal's the people you don't truly know.
You know what, that's true. All right, so obviously, you're working in acro sports, and you'll work with a wide array of students that have differing skill sets one to another, and naturally your goals and methods will change depending on the student that you're coaching and what they need from you. So obviously you wouldn't have a 3-year-old beginner student trying to work a double back, or at least most of us wouldn't.
That was one time.
So tonight we're going to talk about, we're going to compare and contrast working with higher level and lower level students. So the first question that we have this evening is, what is your focus, right? So what are the things that you are really trying to hone in on when you're working with lower level students or rec students, as it were? And what are the aspects that you find most impactful to whether you have a successful class or not, Braden?
Well, I think first would be confidence. You want to work on their confidence with even the smaller skills and help them get through the skills with enough confidence that they can reach higher for what they want to actually succeed in. And even the smaller details.
So what you mean to say is, hey, you, a small child, give me those Cheerios. Reach higher. Yeah. All right, Kaegan, go ahead.
So,
I need those Cheerios.
we know.
You already had all the rest of the Cheerios.
No, Braden's just Cookie Monster at that point.
Not the Cheerio monster we talking about.
Okay. So, there's two main things. If there's too much playing during your class, too much goofing off, then the class won't be functional. It just stops right there. And the second thing is, you need to try and get them to move up. You can't just have a 16-year-old beginner. It's not gonna function. It's unbalanced and probably a little awkward for everybody. So you want to see who's ready to move up and push them to do it. So, piggybacking off of what Coach Kaegan said, in a way, getting the kids to listen can sometimes be a struggle because all they want to do is goof off, which gives the class a more negative focus and impact because they are little kids after all. Generally, most of them are 6 or 7 in beginners.
So I think when working with lower level students, the most important thing is building a foundation. You have to have a great foundation with which to build off everything else. That comes with, in terms of parkour, one of the most basic things that we want to teach a kid: how to jump, how to land, how to safety roll from a larger jump, right? They've got to be able to land. They've got to be able to safely bail out of anything else, right? And that comes into the second step, teaching them safety. Safety first in everything that we do. Yeah, what we do is already dangerous in its own right. We don't need to be enhancing that danger with unnecessary, extravagant movements or whatever the case may be, right? So we want to build a foundation, teach safety on top of that foundation, and then build good habits to where they're always orienting themselves towards that foundation and those safety habits.
So, yeah, what is my focus when working with lower level students? And number one, there are a few things, but number one, I think you got to make sure that the kids are where they're supposed to be. Especially if you're working with very younger beginner students, rec gymnastics students, to be specific. And so the thing about that is, it's like, if you got 3 and 4 year olds, they probably haven't had to be in one place for a while doing one thing that they, may or may did not want to do, for any conceivable amount of time. And so that can be, it's like, okay, especially the boys, it's like, okay, calm down. Like, we're not going to just go run around and, hope we don't get kicked by somebody doing another skill. It's like, you've got to hang out here, or if you're on a station, you've got to stay on that station. You've got to do your forward rolls, hang out. It's like, we're not just doing whatever we want to do. It's not it's not parents' night out right now. We're trying to get, we're trying to get them to be safe, because there's all sorts of stuff going on. And so you've got to know how to specifically move inside a gym when there are other classes and other people, sometimes much bigger people than you, doing things in the gym. And so number 1, you make sure that they're where they're supposed to be. Number 2 is you've got to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And those two things can be a task in among themselves, And so you got to make sure that they know what they're doing, what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, do this roll. Okay, now go back. No, don't. We're not like crossing over in front of this station. No, go back the way you're supposed to go. Do a roll again. Okay, rotate. Now we're going to this station. It's all very procedural, and they haven't, especially kids who are pre-school age, not preschool, before school, like 3 and 4 year olds, they don't have that kind of structure in their life at all.
And zero awareness.
Yes, right. And there's like, oh, well, I guess look at the pretty line. I want to go over there. And it's like, yeah, somebody may kick you in the head, and that's not that's not a great way to be. And so if you're running a beginner class, you've got to really adhere to those things, make sure that they're where they're supposed to be and what they're doing, what they're supposed to be doing, because that may be as good as you can get for a while. The thing is that the gymnastics and the actual thing that we should be teaching at the beginner level, at the rec level, is almost secondary to that. You've got to make sure that those foundations are in place, and if they're not, you're not doing anything. You've just got to chase children around all day. And so the other thing, like I said, that can be much harder much harder than you think it is, especially if you've never done this before. But they can run you over in a hurry. But the other thing too is I think that makes beginners especially interesting is that you've got to match the intensity of the children that are coming in, because they are pumped to be there. Like they are, it's like, what, I get to get out of the house? Let's go. And so they are pumped to be there. And sometimes that lends itself to being unfocused on the thing that you want them to do. And so you've got to be excited to be there. You can't be super emo and in your feelings and all of that. You've got to make sure that you know who I'm talking to. You've got to make sure that you can match the intensity of the children who are coming, who the parents have put in your hands, then their safety. And so you've got to make sure that you're ready for whatever intensity they bring with them. So next question. So we talked about lower level students. What is your focus as a coach working with maybe some higher level students, some competition athletes, whatever that looks like, advanced students in some regard? What are the aspects that you think really impact not your class but your workout? Like you're working towards something, like what obviously the tone and tenor of the whole thing has to be a little bit different to work with them. And so what are you trying to focus on to make sure that they are successful in their workout?
Working with higher ups, they mostly have their skills down, so I try and focus on the smaller details and refining them to be more, I guess, sharp or edged, and get their skills more and more consistent to where they can do it almost instinctually when they're trying to go throughout their routines or just doing it for some fun, and their instincts will kick in saying, this is what needs to happen, this is what you need to do this skill. So that's what I mostly try and focus on.
There's this thing that happens when you get older and you get the ability to word, meaning now they can argue with you correctly, and that is not fun. You have to shut that down absolutely immediately, or else, again, entire workout out the window. The other big thing is spotting gets harder for you. It is this sounds really rude. They are heavier and they are bigger. It is not fun for you. You are going to hurt yourself.
Well, I think really what you're trying to say is that they generate more power too.
Yeah.
And so that can be harder to control both for them and for you.
It's more force.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it becomes so much more impactful both on your body and theirs and the floor, obviously.
Oh, we have to fix the floor so much.
Yeah.
There's at least 6, 7 spots that currently are broken.
Yeah, and so obviously, yeah. So sorry, just trying to help you.
No,
with
yeah,
your
that was the exact words that I was looking for. Thank you.
For this specific topic, I'm not entirely sure on what all I could say since I've only recently started working at a higher level with mini team. That being said, I do agree with Coach Kaegan when he says that students arguing back to their coaches makes for a more negative workout, as when they argue, they try to go on and on so they don't have to do any work, and that makes it so they don't learn anything, and by the time, say, like a meet or an evaluation comes around, they can't remember their skills because of all the arguing.
So when coaching higher level athletes, honestly, it's time to focus down on the details. Details matter a lot, and I guess the main concept here is macro versus micro. In terms of younger students, I tend to focus more on the macro of ideas, teaching the concepts, teaching them why we do things the way that we do, teaching them the overall fundamentals. Whereas once they start getting more advanced, okay, we've learned the macro, time to start focusing in on the micro. We got to learn the details. We got to learn, why do my hands need to be together here? Why do I need to rotate from the hips? Why am I lifting this, various different things. And that all comes down to very, very minute details. So instead of telling them, hey, you need to be here doing this, it's more like, all right, you didn't land with your hands together, you didn't pull through from the shoulders. Very, very specific details from my higher level athletes. And I think getting them to focus on those details and know that they matter, teaching them that matters, is whether or not, or determines whether or not a workout will be successful.
How dare you sum up all my points for the rest of the episode?
that was you, bro. I succinctly delivered your message.
All right, so if you're enjoying this, I'm kidding. All right, so yeah, I mean that was really, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about too. So number one, I think that you got to realize when you're working with higher level athletes, piggybacking off of what you said, you're kind of the foundation of the workout. And what I mean by that is that when you're working with younger kids, what you do and the things that you say and do don't necessarily have, they're just, you're trying to get them to calm down, but normally the older kids are a little bit more calm. And so what you do matters much more. And the way that you set the tone for your workout, the way that you become the foundation of what needs to happen, and so you're in the middle of your workout and you're like, hey, you see something that needs to be fixed, and so you're trying to tweak it in a lot of the micro of what you were talking about, right? And so you got to understand that your role in the workout, not only are you the foundation, because, if you're too upset and you bring down the entire workout and the cadence of what you're trying to do, that's not good. But also if you let them be hyper unfocused and just talk to each other, there's a much more nuanced role that you have to play, the higher that the kids get. And so you set the tone, obviously, I just said that, but, you've got to realize too that I think that really in gymnastics, as they get higher level, they understand more, and so your role physically is not as needed as it is when you're out here spotting 400 round off back handsprings. And so the trade-off is that you're not needed as much physically in a lot of cases, but you are needed in an enhanced way spiritually and emotionally. because, you know, it's like mostly the only time you get people crying on beginners is I'm scared of the bar, or I skint my knee, or whatever. But, you know, you've got people, you know, when you get to be a higher level gymnast, you've got a ton of super complex emotions that you're trying to go through. And so that is a lot of your job as the coach, is not necessarily physically spotting them and getting where they need to be, but you've got to get them in the mental headspace to be where they need to be to do this hyper dangerous thing very successfully. And you know, there's going to be adversity. We talked about that last week. There's going to be hardships. There's going to be emotions, and obviously you're going to have to correct their skills too. And so I think that your role changes to, you know, instead of like guiding them in beginners and being like, no, you need to stay here, you need to do this. It's like, it's less of that, and it's more of, okay, maybe we ran into a mental block this week of the skill that we're doing. How are we going to get through that? And you've got to have a vision. And so your role just changes and becomes infinitely more nuanced when you work with higher level athletes. And last question today is, so obviously there are some similarities between higher level. You know, it's not like, hey, over there we're doing gymnastics, over here we're doing badminton. You know, it's not, you know, it's the same sport. So what do you think are the similarities between working with higher level athletes and lower level athletes, and what do you think the contrasts are?
I can find a lot of contrast. When you're working with higher levels, yes, you, like I said earlier, you need to fine-tune the details like machinery. If one piece of the machinery isn't working, the skill won't. So you got to fix that part so you can fix the rest. And it's how any machine or gymnast works. It's how anything can work truly when you're doing stuff like this. And while with lower levels, it's encouragement. They, like you said earlier, it's mostly, I can't reach up there, it's too scary, and you want to encourage them to try and push through it and get them to work through the skills, and again, teach them the fundamentals like Coach Tracy said. That's gonna be their foundation going up through any level in this sport.
So with younger kids, you have to be sweet yet stern. You have to be clear with what you want, but you can't be a dictator about it. They don't respond to it very well. They respond to it with tears and pushback and ultimately a thrown off workout. With the older kids, at least 80% of the time, if they've been with your program for a good while, they can be reasoned with.
So, unfortunately, due to my lack of experience with higher levels, I really can't make any points that haven't been made already. Children are lazy inherently, and they don't want to work. I'm sure all of us were at one point, so that carries over. But it's not always on a good day that the older kids can be reasoned with. Sometimes on a bad day they can be reasoned with. It's sort of a begrudging process.
So there are definitely some similarities between higher ups and lowers, okay? Conditioning is always important. All right? So I'm not saying that we need to have a 3-year-old up here doing 55 push-ups every other minute, okay? But what I am saying is we need to focus on conditioning at least a little bit, no matter what the age is. If they don't have the muscle or the technique to pull off skills, it doesn't matter how long they've been here, okay? So we need to make sure that we're reinforcing the foundations, even if that they're older, even if they're younger. That's a similarity. We always got to be reinforcing the foundations. If my higher ups are landing improperly and rolling improperly, I'm going to call them out, same as I would our younger kids. And then I'm going to make them drill it until they figure it out and fix it. I'm going to be a little bit harsher on my higher ups for sure and point out more details to them and make sure that they're fixing very specific things. But all the same, we need to make sure that we're focusing on the foundation no matter what point in our skill level we're at. Now, that comes back to a contrast. Teaching versus reinforcing. When I'm teaching a concept brand new, I'm definitely going to be instructing a little bit differently than I would if I was reinforcing it. My higher-ups, I expect them to have a certain level of skill and a certain level of maturity coming into class. And if they're not displaying that for me, I'm going to call them out. I'm going to make sure that they understand the expectations. Look, this is my advanced class, this is the higher-up class, whatever you're calling it, and I'm expecting this from you. And if you're not bringing that here, then you don't belong here. I need you to rise to my occasion here. Not every student responds to that well, but I'm sorry, that's the way that it works, I feel like. I don't want someone coming in here and being unsafe. So, anyways, that comes back to teaching versus reinforcing. There's definitely a contrast there.
I think if you had to summarize Tracy's points on all Coach on Command episodes, it is
Stop being a weenie.
no, you're ruining my punchline. It's
They're pretty
yes,
easy,
it
too.
it is condition. Condition number 1. Number 2 is you're wrong. Number 3 is don't be a weenie. Yes, I love how you knew exactly what I was going to say, though. Fantastic. All right, so what are the similarities comparing working with higher level students with lower level students? And number 1, I think, is that you care about the kids that you work with. I think that's number 1, and obviously that should be a given, but it's you care about the kids that you work with no matter what level they are, and you have their best interest at heart. And I think that because of that, number 2 has to be that you are trying to work them out and progress them in both safety and discernment. And that is something that some of us really have. He got really scared of that shirt. Did you see it?
It's a good shirt.
So yeah, safety and discernment. And I think number 1, you've got to really make sure that they, that what you're doing, you've got to really think through your progressions. And so whether you get them from another coach or you try to make them up yourself, you've got to make sure that the kids are ready for whatever you're trying to do. And so again, I made the joke earlier about the 3-year-old with the double back, but there's maybe not quite as ridiculous as that, but there are kids all over the country right now doing skills that they're not ready for, and so you've got to make sure that when they are ready for that you progress them in a way that's safe. I mean, that should go without saying. And the other thing is discernment, and what discernment means, and I preach it religiously to all of the people, and you can tell who I tell it to most by who doesn't have it and who just sighed really big just then. But yeah, it's like you've got to, discernment is knowing what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. And so if you see somebody peel off a bar, you're like, you know what, maybe I should do something about this. Maybe I should make sure that they're safe. That looks super unsafe, and so now we got to fix it. Maybe we're not ready for this. Maybe we pull it back a little bit. But yeah, knowing where you're at, and I think being a higher level coach, you've got to really know what you're trying to do and formulate a plan. And now maybe you're not always right. Maybe you think that you're somewhere you're not. And you honestly think that, and then you try that, hey, let's try this drill, and then they just like eat it, and you're like, whoops, let's take a couple steps back. But yeah, and so those things I think are similar across the board in this sport and in parkour and all of that. You just want to make sure everybody's safe and make sure you know the difference in what is appropriate and what is not. And then the last thing is organization and efficiency. Whatever you're doing, you want it to be organized, unlike this podcast. You want it to be, you don't want craziness to ensue. You don't want people to walk in your gym and it looks like an I Spy book and there's just stuff everywhere and kids running around and all sorts of like you don't want that. You want people to walk in your gym and be like, oh, maybe even if I don't have any background in this particular sport, maybe I just walk in here for the first time and I'm like, oh, well, these kids are over here and they look like they're doing, and you just want it to look organized. And then also for you and for your classes, you also want to make sure it's efficient. And so everybody's where they're supposed to be. You rotate on time. There's not a whole lot of discrepancy in, in the way that a well-oiled machine would run versus your program. And I think those things are all very important. And so as far as contrasting the two, higher levels and lower levels, the first one, lower levels a lot of times can feel like herding cats, or something, I don't know, cows, whatever,
Cows that don't want to be herded.
Yeah, yes, right. Yes, yeah. And so it can feel a lot like that. You're like, hey, or maybe it feels like the boat that, that springs a leak, and so you plug it and well, there goes another leak. It's like that can feel like that when you're working with younger kids. So herding cats, is a little bit how it is on the lower levels, but for the higher levels, you're trying to get your reps in, and so it should not be like herding cats. It should be like get on the bar, do your thing, 5 reps, let's move, and you're trying to, and that's how I try to get all of our workouts to go. And so again, with the efficiency that I was just talking about, and then with the lower levels, you're trying to develop stability, and by stability I mean that okay, I've got a kid, and if I look the other way, he's going to run off. I need to know that if I've got something to do, if I've got to go handle something else or talk to a coach or handle something that's going on or talk to a parent, whatever, that this kid is not just going to book it the second that I turn around. And there have been kids like that in our program. And so you're trying to develop stability where you don't have to do so much active stay here, don't leave, do your roll, quit trying to pick your nose and do all sorts of weird stuff. It's like, yeah, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to develop the stability to be there. Hopefully, once you get to upper levels, they're a little bit more self-motivated and they've got it where it's that part is not a big deal. And so what you're trying to develop with the higher levels is consistency. And I think we all kind of touched on that. You're trying to be like, okay, well, it doesn't necessarily matter. Hey, Mom, I did a roll, yay! With the lower, levels, or maybe I did one thing one time. Over here, it's like you want 9 out of 10. You want whatever, and so that's what you're trying to develop. 10 out of 10 if you can get it, but that's really hard to get to. But yeah, so you're trying to develop consistency in the things that you're doing. And the last one, and you really hit on this. Lower levels is about reformation. You're trying to reform them. You're trying to be like, quit acting crazy. Let's substitute good behavior for crazy behavior. That's what you're trying to do. And then obviously for higher levels, you're trying to refine them. And so reform versus refine. That brings us to everybody's favorite part of the show, and that is the randomly strong opinion of the day. And this one we've discussed for a little bit, and so I'm hoping this is going to be a good one. So tonight we're going to rank 5 things. We're going to, and that is our favorite / top / whatever you want it to be, 5 superpowers that you wish you had. So, top 5 superpowers that you wish you had. This is going to be real interesting. All right, Braden, lead us off.
The first superpower I would want to have is technological assimilation. Technological assimilation is the ability to meld technology into one's very being and use it in whichever way it is possible. The next one would be probability manipulation. And then there's the magical elemental manipulation, which does not just include fire, air, water, earth. It includes other things like actual paint. If you've seen Black Clover, you will know what I am talking about. That show really shows it well. Yes.
Okay, I agree. That makes sense.
There's aquakinesis, the ability to manipulate any kind of water, like tea. Manipulating tea. I think that'd be really handy.
Magic leaf water.
No, just tea, bro. Just tea. And then electromagnetism manipulation, the ability to manipulate electromagnetism itself. You will literally turn yourself into a railgun.
Dude, no, that. So I'm not entirely sure what that means, but so like you'd mess with like the electromagnetivity of the earth.
In ways, you can, with the power, you can generate your own electromagnetic field in whichever way. You could reverse it, make it bigger, shape it, do whatever you want with it.
So you could give somebody a splitting headache.
Theoretically, yes,
Bro,
you
you're
could.
Just snot all over your mustache. My number 5, because I'm not going to show off my best one. Number 5 is flying, and that's just because convenience. My number 4, which brings me to my chin hair one, is reality warping. But not like the Scarlet Witch in the MCU. More like comic book Scarlet Witch, Adam Eve, or Franklin Richards. Because they're dope.
Wait. Does that mean that you bend reality to make everybody think you have chin hairs? Is that what it is?
No, I can make it to where I have always had chin hair.
Oh, okay.
I can
carry on.
Yeah. I can delete something out of the universe and it would never have existed. I could bring something into the universe and would have always existed. Number 3 is time travel. And I chose time travel because this sounds really dumb now that I'm thinking about it. Because to be able to hang out with all of the great musicians in their prime would be awesome. Like, I would love to hang out with Elvis for a day, or the Beatles, or literally anybody. That would be cool. My number 2 would be teleportation, because I am lazy, and that needs no further explanation. Now, number 1, it's basic, it's simple, but super speed. Again, it is quick, it is easy, and I've realized that most of mine are location-based, and it's really amusing, but it's specifically Quicksilver from the X-Men, because the MCU Quicksilver is trash. And everybody's going to agree with me, and I will argue if you don't.
These first two are interesting because they're both numbers 5 and 4, but in some cases they can go hand in hand, that being martial arts manipulation and elemental manipulation. If you've seen the show Avatar: The Last Airbender or Legend of Korra, that's where it comes from. But in the case I'm thinking of for elemental manipulation, it's not simply bending the elements or manipulating them, it's having full control of your environment. My third one is time manipulation. The ability to slow down or stop time is where I'm going with this. And that could be useful for any number of things, like, say, a building is collapsing and people can't get out in time. So if you're able to stop time, you could get them safely out of harm's way. Now, moving on to number 2. This one is more so, it's best featured in the MCU with Iron Man 3, that being technopathy, which Tony Stark uses for his Mark 42 Iron Man armor. Number 1, for me, it comes from a show called My Hero Academia. The character Momo Yaoyorozu uses a power called creation, but it has a caveat. That being, you can only create whatever you understand the molecular structure of. Therefore, if you wanted a rubber ball or a metal pipe, you would have to understand those molecular structures. And even then, you have limits like size, mass, and all of that.
So I had my top 5 written down, but this podcast has changed number 5. Okay. Number 5 was originally the ability to grant wishes. Sounds like an awesome superpower. But I've changed that. I would rather have the ability to make someone get to the point.
That's actually really good. Like, that has other applications outside of this. I like that.
Yes. It's just like, I'm thinking, get to the point. And it just happens immediately. No more beating around the bush. This is what I'm after. Number 4, the ability to morph. I could fly, or I could just have morphing. I could breathe underwater, or I could just have morphing. I'd turn myself into a fish. Like Maui from Moana, you know? I'm suddenly a giant eagle. Sure, why not? Let's fly away. Number 3, time travel. Okay, Kaegan had some good points. There's some awesome events that have taken place in the world that would be great to see, but musicians not necessarily what I had in mind. But you know, a lot of historical events, going to different places and seeing different areas as they progress through time, just being able to see the history of places in real time, not just pictures. Sounds pretty awesome to be able to experience that sort of thing. Number 2, super speed. Oh gosh, being able to run at ridiculous speeds just sounds like so much fun to me.
Yeah, but what type of super speed? A train?
The type of
Quicksilver,
speed
the
where I
Flash.
move fast. See, you guys are getting no.
we were
It's
too
simple.
specific?
No. This is simple. I move fast. Okay.
Did we get too specific?
Yes.
You guys nerded out so hard over here that I had an aneurysm. Number 1, the ability to heal people. I think the ability to heal someone else, heal another person's injury, would just come in clutch in so many places that many, many other superpowers just couldn't do. So, number 1, ability to heal people.
Well, now that you say that, I feel like a selfish jerk.
I didn't say it, you said it, I was thinking it.
So yeah, number 5 is super speed, because I think that and no, I have a job too. I don't know which random fool
Aaron
I would
moved
like to,
really fast.
I know, faster than other people. That's what I would love to do. Okay, number 4 I think is super strength, because that's awesome. Wouldn't it be awesome to just, like, I don't know, pick up a car
or be able to spot a whole lot of force.
yeah.
Aaron smash.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, number 4, super strength. Number 3 is invisibility, because I think that would be awesome. Like, if you can't find me, you can't ask me crazy questions. And I could just be standing here. I could like go sleep somewhere and nobody would be able to find me. Coach Arron, Coach Arron, Coach Arron. I think that would be fantastic. Nobody could find me. All right. Number 2, I think that it would be awesome to stop time. And here's the thing, and this is 100% selfish because I don't want to whatever. I would love to be like in between my lessons. It's like I've been here 12 hours or whatever already, and I'm going to be here another like 6. If I could just stop time and take a nap.
Go pick up some dinner.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that would be all that I would use it for, is just stop time, take a nap, go back, That would be awesome. But number 1, and this one has been a long time coming, okay? And so kids are pretty annoying, and people are always around me. Coach Arron, Coach Arron, Coach Arron, Coach Arron. And so sometimes somebody will come ask me something crazy, and I'll just be like, go to sleep. Because one of these days it's going to work. And then parents are going to pay me $1 million wanting to know how to get their kids just to fall asleep without, asking them all these crazy questions. It's kind of like that meme where it's like, I finally figured out the meaning of that scene in Star Wars where Yoda gets so tired of answering all Luke's questions, he just dies. But anyway, so yeah, if I could really do that, if kids were like, Coach Arron, can we have a popsicle? Can we do this? Can I do my back tuck? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd just be like, go to sleep. That would be fantastic. All right. So if you're enjoying this podcast, we are all enjoying this podcast. So the people who matter around here are enjoying this podcast. So
everybody matters.
So yeah, if you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, argue with Kaegan on TikTok. Some of you have actually done that, and that is fantastic. Oh, by the way, I need to say before we got off, because I forgot the last couple weeks, but I mentioned I actually got Gabriel Iglesias the other day, and I don't know if you know what that means, but so he tells a joke where he says that he liked chocolate cake, and people who started attending his shows bringing him chocolate cake. And so I said the other day that I had never tried the like the Nerds balls, the Nerds roast, but now they've got them and they're like, it's just
clusters.
Clusters. Yeah. There you go. I couldn't remember the words. Yeah, I had never tried those. Well, one of our team moms heard what I said and brought them to me the other day, and so now I have an informed opinion, and they are actually really good.
Coach on Command, I've never had a lot of money.
Do your thing. So yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us. We do have an email. Tracy, please tell us what the email is.
Please let Kieran do it. Please read it, please. Oh my God.
You can contact us at askcoc@yahoo.com.
That was surprisingly not a train wreck. All right, so that'll do it for us. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please stay tuned for Send Bubble Wrap. Kaegan learns how to do a back handspring.
And have a flipping great day.
And don't forget to say, take care.